outsourced business for DHL. There I got the opportunity to steer the human resource function, ensuring the staff are well managed, trained, resourced, but more importantly is to participate in business development. With my skills and experience, I believe I can be of value to IEBC and my country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Balozi. Are you a registered voter?
Yes, I am.
Where did you vote in the last elections?
I voted in IEBC Social Hall.
Thank you so much. I'll now request Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. You say you went to Zimbabwe in 2015, and you say as a result of your efforts, Kenya Airways established a new route to
Victoria Falls.
You said it was established which year?
May 2017.
May 2017. I flew to Victoria Falls in May, in 2015, May, and I used Kenya Airways, a direct flight.
That would not be possible.
Okay.
Unless you came to Harare, and then from Harare I used a local flight to Victoria Falls.
I flew straight to Victoria, Kenya Airways.
Unless it was.
You check that.
I'll check, but it's also available on chartered. Should you have used that?
I cannot afford that. Okay. Do you know who independent candidates are?
Yes, I do.
Who are they?
It's a person who is not affiliated to a political party and he would like to run for a political office in our country.
What do you mean not affiliated with a political party?
You're not a political party member, or you're not a member to a political party. At least 6 months to the time we're doing our elections. Then you could run as an individual, as a person who is not a party oriented or party sponsored.
Is it 6 months?
No, 6 months is the nomination. It's 3 months before.
3 months. So, essentially, what do you need for you to qualify as an independent candidate?
You need to be endorsed by the electoral voters. For example, for you to be a president, independent, then at least you need 2,000 individual persons to sign for you from the country, from the counties that we have, to sign that, yes, they support your candidature.
47 counties?
No.
How many?
At least, you need 2,000 voters, at least from the 24 counties.
From 24 counties. Okay. So if you want to run as an independent candidate for the National Assembly, a seat in the National Assembly, do you think there is a limit as to the number of candidates that can offer themselves for election?
As other independent candidates, no.
Assuming that you are qualified, in our legal framework, do we have a limit to the number of candidates the Electoral Commission can clear to run?
No, we don't have, but we have a deadline to which you must submit your nomination.
So, if, for example, 10,000 candidates offered themselves to run in Kitui Central constituency, where I come from, you as a commissioner of IEBC would clear them if they qualify?
Yes, if you meet all the qualifications and the criteria, yes, you have a right.
And because of the possibility that there could be an exponential number of people offering themselves to run as independent candidates, I don't know about you, but I think that would present some logistical challenges and also challenges in terms of costs to the IEBC. Do you think there are some there's a framework to at least limit the number of people who can offer themselves?
Currently, as we stand, we don't have one. However, our current environment in terms of politics is that the general public or even candidates like to be associated with their party. So it's, as we stand, we will not be in a position to get so many candidates. But maybe in the future, it's possible that many people will come up as independent candidates. I wouldn't suggest that we have a formula that reduces the number. As long as they fulfill the criteria and the qualification, I think they should be allowed, because you have a right to want to vie for an office.
But because we have this is a free country, and people are free to participate in the electoral process, you can offer yourself for election. But at the practical level, an election could be monstrously expensive if, for example, you had thousands of candidates, and it would be a logistical nightmare having to print ballot papers and so on and so forth. Do you think, despite what the Constitution says about the right to present yourself as a candidate, there should be a policy at least to limit the numbers?
No.
So we should just look for the money?
We should look for the money, and perhaps, should we find a situation in the future that we have increasing numbers of independent, and they already made the minimum. For example, right now for MCA, there's a pending rule that they have to have a first degree. Perhaps you can improve the qualification, but not the number, to say only 10 people or 5 people are required.
You can improve the qualifications. So when you mention the question of the degree, you know, it's a debate that is ongoing now, whether we should bar people from running just because they do not have a degree. People say this is not a country of the learned only. The majority of us are not learned. What is your view about that? Do you think you should limit people on the basis of education?
Because we are required to always execute our role with public participation. I will leave that for Parliament to be the one to guide us in respect to the legislation. But as we grow as a country, it will be desirable that as we grow, we also have highly qualified legislators, right from MCA up to the highest level.
Is it your view that high academic qualifications equal to high qualification for office?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Now, you know that we have been using technology in our elections. What kind of technology is in use by IEBC in our elections?
IEBC has adopted an integrated technology, KIMS, but I have various aspects of the technology. There's one way that IEBC uses for voter registration, for voter registration. There's one that is for biometric identification during the day of the voting. Then there's one for transmission of results. But there's a way these technologies, or rather the different computerized systems, are integrated together to provide a good technology environment for the elections.
So you have mentioned biometric technology for registration of voters. The technology should also be able to identify voters, and the technology should also be able to transmit results. Is there any other capacity of the technology that is required by law? Registration, identification, transmission. The law says there is another quality of that technology.
We should also be able to verify the voters during the time of voter register verification process, and also have the candidates' registration using the system.
Yeah, the law says that this is the election technology regulations. They say that it should also be able to assist in nomination of candidates. Now, what happens in circumstances where a person's biometrics cannot be extracted?
Having at the arrival of at the polling station, if the person already has a national identification, yes, they have checked that the person is present in the voters register. but we are not able to see, the fingerprints is not able to tally, then we'll use the complementary by seeing that the physical, check within the ID and the person presenting himself. They should be allowed.
Okay, let me just ask you one last question. When you talk about the ability of this technology to transmit results, assume that you are at a polling station, IEBC secondary school, that is my former secondary school, and it's a polling station. If you have to transmit results from that polling station, where do you transmit the results to?
Currently, we have two provisions that the IEBC will have the system that you'll be able to transmit. That means you're given a smartphone and you're able to transmit. But there's also a possibility, or rather reality in our country, that not all areas are able to have network. Then they should be able to use the complementary mechanism of the forms that have already been filled at polling station.
No, I get that. I'm saying that the technology should be able to transmit results. The results are transmitted to where? Place yourself at IEBC secondary school polling station. The results are transmitted to where?
Thank you. The results from the polling stations have been mapped. So if we're having the results for MCA, they are transmitted to the constituency level. If you're having the results for MP, they are transmitted to constituent level. If it's for a senator, they are transmitted to the county level. There's a way the systems integrates or rather accumulates these results. If it's for the presidents, it accumulates at the National Tallying Center. So there are tallying centers for different, we have the constituent tallying center, we have the county tallying center, and we have the national tallying center.
Do you know how the results are then received after transmission? Are they received on phone?
There's the transmission system that is automatically picked. We also have the forms that IEBC uses.
No, I'm just asking, at the constituency level, MCA results are being transmitted. If you transmit from the polling station, they will be received at the other end. How are they received? Do they go to somebody's phone, or where do they go?
No, they go to a server.
They go to a server?
Yes.
So you have servers in every constituency?
Not necessarily.
So where do they go?
Servers is a central point where the storage are put. However, you could have a computer in front of at the tallying center, or rather from the constituency, the presiding officer.
I'm just asking the practical scenario. You've been in elections.
Yes.
You transmit from the polling station. At the practical level, where are they received? What gadget receives them on the other end?
So they're received at the tallying center.
Okay. And thank you very much, Madam Chair, and all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Kimoli.
Thank you, Mr. Kimoli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ambassador Chilimo. Some few minutes ago, we just had another colleague of yours, Ambassador Koki. And I assume you had the interview, maybe the questions, right? But of course, I would like to give you the opportunity for you to tell us and the whole Kenyans as to what are you priding of as an ambassador in Zimbabwe, apart from the flight. We heard about the flight.
Sure, thank you. Other areas of my delivery as an ambassador in Zimbabwe, one key, like I mentioned, just the airways one, but we also have the issue of ensuring the relation between our country, Kenya, and Zimbabwe is cordial. And that is exemplified by the state visit that I mentioned, that the president of Zimbabwe came and our president also came to Zimbabwe. I also, during my term, facilitated business delegations that came to Zimbabwe, parliamentary delegations that came to Zimbabwe, and also we have the Kenyan diaspora, who's my role to ensure that their issues are well managed. That I was able to do it very well. I have staff at the mission. We have 16. Ensure that these staff are given proper direction for their delivery. And we had key areas of our delivery of all ambassadors, all embassies. That is, we have the economic diplomacy. You must ensure that you market the country. And I did market Kenya in Zimbabwe. And we had quite a number of Kenyan delegations that have come. Unfortunately, not able to leave us so much in terms of investment in Zimbabwe, knowing the economic situation there. But the key one that we were able to mention was the Kenya Ways one, that we're able to deliver it in terms of a big way. But there are quite many small business people who would come and invest in Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Ambassador. I did train also in Bulawayo, so time with no place, right? Now tell me, Ambassador, are you still an employee of Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Not at the moment, Dr. Abdallah.
Right. So what do you do now for a living?
I came back, being recalled in December 2020. So
December
for the last
2020.
Yes.
So you're still fresh.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Carry on.
So you had asked what am I doing?
Yes.
For the first 3 months, I used to settle down, and the other part of the remaining 3 months, I've been looking for employment, and this is one of the progress.
Okay. So before your appointment as an ambassador, were you a career diplomat?
No.
You're not. Now, after your expiry of your term in Zimbabwe, were you somehow nominated to another station?
No, I was appointed in 2014 as a political appointee.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finished my term, I came back. I wasn't posted elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm available to offer my services to Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the reason why I applied to join IEBC.
Okay. Maybe it was in the grapevine. Sometimes you were supposed to have gone to Canada?
Yes.
You did. So you were nominated to go to Canada.
At the first time when I was appointed in 2014, I was appointed to go to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Zimbabwe because of some changes that were made.
Internally here, not
Yes.
the Canadians.
No, I didn't go to Canada. It was internal changes.
Okay. Ambassador, I saw from your CV, or rather on your SP1, that you stated you have 15 years of experience in various levels of administrative, managerial, strategic leadership, and diplomacy. You also stated you have 10 years experience in resource mobilization, budget development, and business development and procurement. Where did you get this experience with 16 staff? You have that experience within the embassy of 16 people? When the budget is already approved and given to you by the headquarters?
Dr. Abdallah, I'll take you through. I was employed from 2004 up to 2020.
Okay.
Those are 16 plus few months. From my first job, from 2004 up to 2020, those are the opportunities that I got to experience. The 15 years experience is not in relation to the embassy alone. For example, my first job at Agastana College, immediately when I graduated with my first degree, I joined Agastana College, where first I was a lecturer. Then I joined to work as a deputy registrar in charge of admissions and exams. There I was ensuring that there's general administration of student affairs, lecturers' affairs, recruiting of lecturers, student activities, as well as the college activities. Thereafter, I went to join Sovereign Group. I started with Marriott Hotel, then later joined Regent as a group human resource manager. There, I was in charge of ensuring that we have recruited the staff. And when I was in Regent, I was also in charge of general procurement of the administration of the company. Thereafter is when I joined DHL. I worked there for 2 years. I was in charge of Kenya Breweries as a business, outsourced to DHL, ensuring that there's recruitment of staff, training of staff, ensuring that when we are bidding for business, I give the business advice from the angle of HR. I would also participate in the business design, giving the HR perspectives of the business design. So it's a cumulative process.
Thank you, Ambassador. For sure, recipes for success cannot be given to everybody. Yeah? It is impossible to use a cooking book approach to managing performance. Right. No one always will work for every manager. Its management success is one's. Sometimes it's nurtured, sometimes it's nurtured. What can you bring to IBC with that experience?
With the experience that I have had, given the opportunity to work at IEBC, I would like to use my experience, especially the diplomatic experience that I've received, I think will be key in stakeholder management. I will be in a position to approach the donor community, the international organization, as part of stakeholders for IEBC, and also as part of the donors. I'll be able to approach them using my diplomatic experience. In terms of stakeholder engagement, I'll be in a position to engage the parliament, the executive, other political actors, and the voter, using my skills in terms of management, and I'm also good with interpersonal relations. I can negotiate, I can bring people together, and I can be able to ensure that we move together. In terms of resource mobilization, an area that through what we watch in the news, we see that IEBC is not fully funded, or not fully, but is not adequately funded. I will be able to be added value in areas of resource mobilization. To give an example, at the embassy, I've been able to negotiate, push, and convince my superiors, the peers, and the minister. And I was able to ensure that my mission was well resourced in terms of the things that would be required. I was able to renovate the house for staff. I was able to buy 3 cars by the time I was there. It's something you have to negotiate. If you just sit, you won't get.
You bought 3 cars for yourself?
Not to myself, but to
for
my
your
embassy.
mission. You know, if I am given the opportunity to be looking at the embassy, I would always look at my returns on investments, because I think many mistake ambassadors to be just joyriders, but I'm sure there is a responsibility of developing business and returns for the country. What would you do how would you interpret this statement? As an ambassador, or as a manager at the mission? No, as a managing ambassador.
Yes.
Because your ambassador title will still ever remain with you.
Sure.
Thank you.
I ensured at the mission that I ensure that my staff are well resourced, and that they have a good working environment. So they live in a good house, they're driven in a good car. And I also mentioned I will be able to deliver in resource mobilization for IEBC. Should I get the opportunity, I'll be able to approach the donor community. I can be able to do a presentation or make a business case to my chair to see that, for example, voter education is an area, given the opportunity, I would want to put it across for our international organization to assist us. Thank you.
Good. Another example, Ambassador. I am looking at some embassies which I know here, and I'll give you an example of the Pakistani embassy here. I've been reading for years that they are the biggest consumers of our tea, and in return, I see they're becoming one of the biggest suppliers of rice. This is where my pledge is to the ambassadors, that whilst you're out there, what should Kenya get? Because the country is investing in the mission.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. Indeed, this is one of our key duties as an ambassador. You must be able to deliver on the economic diplomacy. And in respect to my time in Harare, I was able to market quite a lot in terms of tourism. And almost every year, we would be seeing in the news that many ministers of Zimbabwe, many Zimbabweans were able to come here on tourism. One other area that I identified as an area of focus in Zimbabwe was education. We were able to market, with I and my team, our education in Kenya. And right now, quite a number of Zimbabweans come to school in Nairobi. So right from high school to university is an area that I take pride with.
Thank you very much. Well done, and all the best. Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. I'll now request Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ambassador Chelimo, you said you are in Harare from between 2015 to 2020. Now, how many Kenyans were in Zimbabwe in 2017?
Around 356 registered Kenyans. However, as an embassy, we had information that we're more or less like 500.
So 356
56 registered.
registered Kenyans, and other non-registered, that will bring to around a figure of around 500. Okay. Now, you're aware that Kenyans in the diaspora can vote?
Yes, I am.
When did this first happen?
The 2017 elections.
2017 elections. Now, maybe you can name 4 countries where Kenyans in the diaspora voted in 2017.
They did in Uganda, in Rwanda, in South Africa.
In South Africa. South Africa is closer to Zimbabwe than to Kenya?
In terms of distance, on the road, yes. On air is more or less the same. However, Zimbabwe was not qualifying as a station to vote because we are less than 3,000 registered Kenyans.
Okay. Now, which elections can a voter in the diaspora participate?
Presidential.
Presidential. And what are the procedures for registration of voters and the law?
Thank you. First, you need to be have a national identity card or a passport. You must be over 18 to have acquired, to be able to vote. I'm qualifying that in the sense that you can have a passport but not necessarily 18 years old.
Yes.
So once you have that, then you would identify where you would want to vote, and when IEBC has announced and they have people on ground that are registering, then you could go to that polling station and register.
Okay.
But for diaspora, then they would come with the embassy, liaise with the embassy, and have the station in that country.
The diaspora. Okay. Or in the embassy. Okay, fair enough. And what are some of the challenges faced by Kenyans in the diaspora on voting?
Thank you. Most Kenyans would love that they would make a decision or rather vote in all the 6 elections. But we are restricting to only 1 elections. That is 1. Number 2, like I said, most Kenyans are registered as members of diaspora with the embassy. But most of them will find it, they would wish that they would come and vote here. However, some still remain behind and vote. The challenge they will face voting at the embassy, more or less, is the embassy will be in the capital center of that country, and perhaps as a diaspora you're located far from the embassy and you're required to come. Sometimes they feel that perhaps we should have taken the voting to where they are.
Now, and how do an embassy or a country qualify to be registered as a country where voters can vote, can register and vote?
Thank you. The embassy, each embassy makes returns in terms of registered Kenyans with the embassy. So if you have at least 3,000 Kenyans registered with the embassy, then that station or that embassy will qualify to be a polling station. However, the opportunity or the chance to vote when you're in the diaspora is a right that is given by our laws, but progressively. As a country, we are not able to offer polling stations as much as you may qualify, all of you, the 3,000, meeting the 3,000 mark.
Okay, thank you. Now, don't you think that there is an issue here? Article 38 grants Kenyans that political right. You have 300 Kenyans in Zimbabwe. The Constitution gives them the right to vote and to participate in political choices, their political choices, make political choices. What will you do as a commissioner to ensure that that political right of Kenyans, whether they are few in a country, is not infringed?
I would propose, as we grow as a country, opportunity for voting technologically, using the technology when you're in the diaspora, because it can be quite expensive to be able to place IB staff in all the countries that we have Kenyans out there. So we could have that chance. I would also propose what other countries do. We have the advanced voting. Should you have come to the country a few days or a few months towards the election, then you could do the advanced voting. But that will come with time.
So are you telling us that the reason why Zimbabwe was not one of the designated places is because it is expensive to have IEBC personnel to their presence in Zimbabwe?
No, Dr. Salonga, that is not the reason. Currently, the current procedures or regulations that we use, first of all, I qualify to say that yes, the Constitution gives you a right to vote wherever you are, but it's a right that is supposed to be achieved progressively.
Yes.
Now, the current procedures that we have, regulations, guidance from IEBC, is that we need to be at least 3,000 registered Kenyans in the diaspora.
Okay.
Now, if you were to say everyone can vote everywhere, the cost would be so huge, the logistical impact would be so huge. So I would propose, as we grow, it's not an immediate proposal that I would like to be adopted soon, but with time, we could see the adoption of technology. Why I'm saying this is a deferred proposal is our trust levels are not at the best level that you want to have advanced voting or people voting in different places technology. We need to work on our trust levels first.
Okay, fair enough. Now, in an embassy where IEBC has published that it can be a voting and registration center, who manages that process? Who does IEBC appoint?
IEBC works with the embassy, but they also sent an officer.
From where?
From Nairobi, to ensure that people have been registered and during the voting that it works.
You may need to look at the regulations. You don't require to send a representative from Kenya?
I will look.
Yes. IEBC simply appoints a representative of Kenya in the embassy other than an ambassador or deputy ambassador. Okay? So, now, again, on this issue, with technology, why are you saying that it is expensive? You have personnel in the embassy that IEBC can appoint. There is technology, and it's only one election that this Kenyan in the diaspora can participate. So, help me understand where the problem is.
Okay, I married 3 points there by saying that yes, our technology can help us, but as a country, we need to work on our trust levels. In terms of trusting that, yes, we can electronically vote for everywhere and it will cumulatively come and it comes as it were. That is one. Two, as much as you have the technology, already IEBC has the technology, deploying that technology to that embassy is not it still will have some cost implication.
Okay.
It's not entirely just cost, but we're looking at, circumventing factors that comes together.
Thank you. And okay, now let me ask you, what is universal suffrage?
It is a right to vote by the right to vote, but this right to vote is to the most is a right to vote by most Kenyans. Why I said the word most is that there are people who are not qualifying to vote, but those that qualify must be given the chance to vote. Okay.
And what about equal suffrage?
It means that a vote cast by each person in every place that you vote has equal weight.
Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solonka. I'll now request Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Chair. How are you, Madam?
Fine, thank you.
Ready,
Ms.
you
Mayo.
can start?
Yes.
Okay. One of the issues you told us is that from your experience, you are very strong in resource mobilization. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what are some of the risks that IEBC has actually identified, some financial risks that if not mitigated might stop them from effectively discharging their mandate of implementing the 5-year plan they launched recently?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. One of the main challenge is funding. But even when the budget for IEBC has gone through Parliament, it is a timely disbursement of the funds in relation to the plans that they have. Because they have activity plans. But sometimes the funds don't come at the same time. At the same time that you need to execute that activity. So sometimes it delays then that activity to be mobilized. One is the funds are limited, but other factors or that may not have been fully anticipated comes and take away these funds from the core activities. For example, there's quite a lot of litigation that IEBC faces in execution of the roles. Yes, you may have anticipated perhaps you will have 3-4 issues that may come, but they end up having more than that has been anticipated. It takes away those fundings from the core activities that you have loved to do.
Okay, thank you. One of the risks that IEBC has actually identified as a financial risk is non-operationalization of the IEBC fund. What do you understand by this? Okay, there's a proposal to have to increase the levels of financial independence of IEBC by ensuring that there's an IEBC fund, money that is there, guaranteed, and can be utilized for its activities. So if that works out and we're able to include that, then we'll increase the levels of financial independence of IEBC, and then they'll be able to execute the operations with less difficulty. Okay, thank you. If you are appointed after this process, how would you assist IEBC in resource mobilization so that they can address the issue of the resource gap they have?
Thank you. One aspect that I would do is to negotiate with the CS or with the Treasury to ensure that to take them through the importance and the timelines of our operational plans and ensure that there is timely disbursements. I know we have competing aspects of money in our country, but then as a commissioner of IEBC, I should be able to negotiate and put a case for our funds to come. Secondly, I'll also be able to mobilize resources from the international organization. I am aware there's some international organizations, for example, UNDP, EU, USAID, who has some who can fund some activities of IEBC. For example, the voter education, you could be able to mobilize or rather request them to fund those activities.
Okay, thank you. So part of your stakeholders are political parties. You agree?
Yes.
Not only people who will give you funds, eh?
Yes.
So what are the key issues IEBC expect the registrar of political parties to do to facilitate effective management of electoral process?
The key aspect, or rather the key challenge that IEBC faces in respect to registrar of political parties is you find Kenyans listed to be members of this political party, sometimes without their knowledge, or rather they thought they was in this party, and it contributes to levels of mistrust. That is one. Two is to ensure that they have well updated lists of party lists, because party lists are very important during nomination of candidates in terms of the first preliminary levels of nominations for candidates. So they should have updated lists, party lists.
So the lists only?
The list, the confirmation that this is really a member of, the data has to be accurate when we are confirming. Like for example, if somebody wants to be an independent, we should be able to rely with this list to be sure, yes, this person is not a member of a political party. In terms of also, there's also the collaboration in the anticipated regulation, or rather regulation of finance campaign. Campaign financing. We should be able to work together with registrar of political parties.
Okay, thank you. So from your view, what do you think will be expectation of the political parties from IEBC?
The political parties, the biggest expectation is IEBC to deliver a credible election. That is the biggest. Number 2 is to have communicate with the political actors, continuous communication, update them, involve them in activities that you do. They expect that the voters register must be updated because that's where their votes sit.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. The next question is on the role of one of the key stakeholders who is with us here today, and this is the media. The media plays a very critical role in electoral process. So how will you handle instances where editorial policies of media houses conflict with the values of the Commission?
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. First, I acknowledge that media is a key stakeholder. Media has a key influence with the public confidence of IEBC. So we should be able to have a way of ensuring that the media has a good working relationship with IEBC. So the media, we will be able to work so well together. However, noting the challenge that the media is also free and they'll be able to use or rather print or run their news using their own internal policies. Where there is conflict, then I'll be able to speak, I'll take back, or if I foresee, then I'll speak to the parliamentarians to give guidance in respect from the law.
You will do what?
I will propose through the parliament if there are any areas that we can be able to propose some legal reforms in respect to the media, if any areas.
Okay, thank you. So, Ambassador, if you are appointed today as a commissioner and you are told to carry out voter education in remote areas,
yes,
how will you do that?
If I'm doing voter education in remote areas, I will involve the local community. Would a local community use the existing structures like baraza, or call for meetings within the villages and talk to then give the message that we want to put across. We'll also use the local media in terms of the radio stations that are available or that can be accessed to the people in the village. Also use the language, or rather promote the use of the language that they can understand in the village, knowing that some places people may not even understand Swahili.
Okay, thank you.
So if they need to be talked in the local language, then we involve the educators that can be able to do so.
So if you are to carry out voter education, especially for the youth, how will you do this?
The youth is the biggest as a sizable part of the voters. And what I would do is that the youth likes messaging, like formed or rather geared towards them. So I'll use the language that I understand. I'll also use the social media because that's where they get most of the information, the Instagram, the Facebook, Twitter, among others. But more, I would like to have that meeting with them and make them believe and see that they are a critical mass that must be incorporated into our activities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mayo. Allow me now to request the Vice Chair to ask his question.
Yes, Ambassador Chilimo, could you name 5 challenges facing our electoral democracy today?
The key challenges that faces our electoral democracy today, one is funding of IEBC activities. That makes it a little bit difficult for him to be able to reach out and be able to have the activities on time and in a more efficient manner. Number 2 is political influence. There's a lot of, we as a country, we place high stakes or rather high value to voting, such that the political actors would like to ensure that their voice is in it, or the decision seems to have integrated their voice. So there's a political influence. There's also the form and the legal environment with which IEBC will be operating. There are times when a new law has been enacted 2-3 months or sometimes very close to elections before they could take time to understand or interpret the law properly, then it's already time for elections. We also have the challenge of voter apathy. Very few people, increasingly we're having less and less people turning up to vote, yet that would be the opportunity for us to express or rather to participate in making the choices for our country, especially in governance. The other challenge is there's a continued perspective that if you want to grow and grow fast, especially in youth, just enter into politics. And therefore, we are not putting a proper identity to politics in terms of that is where we should be sourcing the key managers of our country.
Yeah, in your professional career, have you ever faced situations as a leader in whatever role where your leadership abilities and qualities have been challenged?
I can't pick one.
You've never faced any challenge in your leadership positions or in any?
Challenge are faced, but where my leadership has been challenged, no.
Yes. Good.
Okay, in terms, I'll use one of the community roles or community work that I have done. From where I come from, education, especially for girls, was lacking behind, especially at my time at the university. So I came up with a proposal that the best way is to look for other fellow persons who are going to university or are already students in university and go back to the village or to Baringo County and speak to people and encourage them. And most people perceive education of girls less value than for boys. So as we were speaking, people would be like, I know, I'm going to educate this girl, but is going to be married off to another county or to another village. It's better this boy who's going to sit and back. So I felt that was a challenge in our execution in terms of that. The other aspect would be resources. There are times you want to deliver so much, you have a big vision, but you don't have enough financial resources to execute. Another challenge is having the right staff with the shared vision to deliver the vision that you do have as a general challenge.
Thank you. Now, I just want you to imagine this scenario. You're now supposedly in the commission, and you are sent to a particular region to oversee elections in that area. The political players in that region gang up and say, no, we don't want Commissioner X, that is yourself, purely on the basis of ethnicity. They believe that because you come from this ethnic background, you're not going to be fair to whatever is going on there. What would you do as a commissioner?
One, if I'm on the ground and the message is coming right in my face, I'm hoping I will be with other commissioners because that function will still have to move on, whatever we were doing together. However, as a commission, we should be able to project and be able to inspire public confidence so that we are not faced with that scenario. But in reality, that happens.
Now, if this is happening, it's you alone in that region, you're given that region to supervise, you are there, that is happening, you're supposed to deal with it. How would you handle it?
I'll speak to the persons that are communicating their displeasure to take to them and say, you're speaking to Lucy Chelimo, you're not speaking to that tribe or that ethnic category that you're seeing in me. I'll convince the person that this is a professional IEBC commissioner. I'll convince the person this is your commissioner who is ready to offer you services impartially. If the person insists, I have said you can't enter my territory and all that, and I gauge there's a security issue, then I'll say, okay, fine, perhaps this meeting is postponed or this function will be handled by the person we have gone together and resolve it, depending on was there any security issue around it. But if we are in communication, then I'll convince them.
Now, if you were to be appointed a commissioner tomorrow, what attributes do you take to the commission that would add value to the work of the commission and help it face its challenges? What kind of qualities would you take to the commission?
I execute my duties professionally. I am I have a key or an eye for detail. I'm detail conscious, and I know IEBC is a role that all your eyes has to be on paper. So I'll be able to, that will be key. I'm one person that is very fair in my execution of my work. If there's any staff that we need to, or my colleagues that we're working together, I'm very fair in my way of working, very firm in how the functions are being executed, and I believe that is required for IEBC. I'm very a person that likes to go with programs, with plans, so I'll be able to assist also IEBC in any areas that may require. If we're doing, let's say, strategic planning, we're doing operational planning, we're doing procurement planning. I have experience in that. I'll be able to give my views in that. I also have a skill for auditing processes and people. Given if I see that there's opportunity for that, then I will advise or rather propose that we audit our systems or our processes. Because I believe a credible elections will be delivered by a credible process and the credible people that we have at IEBC. So given a chance, then I will guide the auditing of our processes.
Finally, Ambassador, IEBC in its strategic plan identifies electoral fraud and manipulation of elections as a major issue. How would you, what kind of solution would you propose to this problem if you are in the commission?
One is continuous engagement throughout the electoral cycle. When people do understand our activities, our procedures, our way of doing things, then it will lessen the hajj. Number two, what I will also do is reduce the incentives that makes people to commit a fraud, having gone through to identify. For example, in terms of the political the aspects of the political parties aspect, I will advise, or rather I will ensure, it's already a requirement they must have a code of conduct. I will advise, or rather motivate them to have internal structures that removes, that disincentivizes the use of, for example, violence or fraud. We must also have an opportunity to sanction such persons and ensure that those sanctions are really commensurate with the action the person does, so that we all respect and contribute to a credible election.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'll now request Reverend Father Mutia to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Chair. Habari ya balozi.
Mzuri sana, Reverend.
Asante kwa kazi nzuri ambao umefanyia nchi hii katika hizo nchi za ugeni. Ningependa kuuliza, tangu ulipomaliza chuo, nimefuatilia nikapata uligraduate ama ulifuzu mwaka wa 2003 na 2004 ulikuwa kufunzi katika hichi chuo cha Augustina na kazidi kukua mpaka juzi umekuwa katika ama balozi unatuwakilisha katika nchi ya Zimbabwe. Swali langu ni sioni wakati umepata nafasi ya kujumuika na wanarika, kujumuika na kina Wajiko, watu wa bodaboda na watu wa mashinani. Je, utatoboa?
Nitatoboa, na nimepata wakati wa kufanya kazi au kujumuika mashinani. Nilipokuwa nafanya kazi Augustana mpaka wakati nilikuwa nafanya kazi DHL kabla niende ubalozini ya Harare, nilikuwa nafanya pia natafuta the word community work. Nilikuwa nafanya kazi na watu mashinani kama for example I was a board member for Ngetmoy Girls High School from 2010 to 2012. Wakati huo nilikuwa nishasema kwa kwanza huko nyumbani wasichana wako wanasoma compared to the boys. So nikachukua iwe jukumu langu ya kusema nafasi yangu ni ensure tumesoma tukiwa wengi wasichana. Na pia shule ziko karibu na nyumbani ni ensure kuwa wamesoma. So nikajipa jukumu, nikatembelea shule ambayo iko karibu nyumbani. Nikawauliza kwa nini shule atupiti vizuri. Wakati huo tulikuwa tunafanya ile ratiba ya kuwa number 1 or rather we were ranking schools. Nikaongeza ile shule na nikajitolea kuwasaidia or rather to mentor them through academic improvement. Nikafanya kwa hiyo shule Kabluk High School. Baadaye kidogo nikakuja kujua kuna girls school ambayo pia iko inaperform vizuri, Ngetmoy Girls. Nikaenda pale kuuliza kwa nini atufanye vizuri na tumepita kutoka class 8. Nikapeana maoni, nikaenda shule kuongelesha walimu, nikaongelesha wazazi PTA na nikaongelesha the board na wanafunzi. Kisha nikajumuishwa kuwa board member. Na nikasaidia by the time of 4 years hiyo shule ilikuwa among the most improved hiyo Ngetmoy Girls. Na wasichana wakaniambia hawako wanafurahia kuenda games bila bus. Nikawaambia nitawasaidia kununua hiyo bus. Using my resource mobilization skill, nikamobilize funds, tukanunua hiyo bus na wakapewa 2017. Na wasichana wa hiyo shule wanafurahi kwenda games na bus.
Asante balozi. Nikuulize kwa kutaka kujua tu. You've been in Zimbabwe for over 5 years. I think you said 5 years, 7 months precisely. And in a way you must have engaged with the electoral processes. Any comparisons or any similarities, and if there are challenges, do we have common challenges and how can we handle them?
Yes, I got the opportunity to observe the 2017 elections. And one area we could learn from Zimbabwe is their campaigns involves very little or almost no money. The culture of handouts or be given money by politicians is not there. Most of their campaigns is in relation to the party. So it's the party that does most of the work. And mostly people will be voting party lines. The other aspect is, I'm trying to choose my words being a diplomat. The other aspect the challenges that we face with us is less trust with the announced results. People always believe, I think I won than the person that did that. But one good thing is they spend very little money in their campaigns. I think we have a greater space, democratic space, that we can hear our aspects, and the politicians can have a more free or level playing field in terms of their campaigns. What we could borrow is to lessen the amount of money that we put in our campaigns.
Thank you. Allow me to ask you another simple but now, do you feel our electoral processes gives a fair chance to the elderly to vote?
Sorry?
Do you feel that our electoral processes, uchaguzi wetu, do we have fair chances for our elderly people to vote?
Yes, I believe we do have fair chances. Because the polling stations are near or almost like in every village. We also have a privilege that if an older person comes, they should be given priority, or rather they should not be queuing. So I think they're given fair chance.
So you feel our elderly people are taken care of in the process?
In that aspect, the challenge that I see in the sense of the older persons sometimes are not able to walk the stairs in a primary school where There's no RAM, so that the areas that I've seen, like in my primary school, they'll have to really navigate through.
So there's still some more work to be done on that aspect.
Yes.
Have you ever failed in your course of duty?
Have I ever failed? No.
So you don't know what failure means?
I know what failure means. I haven't failed because as I walk through a path and I see a challenge, I call for help in due time. I don't wait until when things are no longer
So put yourself in a scenario where you are a commissioner and everything that you've done, has come to be highlighted by the observers that you've managed to put in place or accredit. And now they have reported to you that, this election was a scam. So it tells you that you failed. What would you do?
Election observers are a key is an integral part of credible elections. We always require a third party or a third eye to give you feedback. So by the time an election observer is giving a report that our elections was not at best, the elections has already been carried out. We use that report to develop improvement plans or change our operations after taking into consideration the areas that they feel, or rather they may have observed it was wrong. Then we'll improve them in planning for the next general election.
But there's violence on the ground. People are fighting.
If we have violence, then it's not the observers who will be telling us the violence. Even the commission would have seen it, that we have violence on the ground. Most of the time, as a country, we have witnessed violence shortly before elections, a bit of it, and more after the announcing of the election results.
So you wouldn't do anything at that moment?
As a commissioner, of course, if we get reports of the first instances of violence, we'll check that the state agencies are also in the picture, they are also aware. As a commissioner, I will also want to check the security of the election materials, the security of the staff, the observers that were on ground. I'll be able to do that. But in terms of securing the country, that mandate would have already gone to the Ministry of Interior with the security agencies.
So you don't own up to any failure as a commission?
I will own to failure in the sense that I said, if our elections, we have already done it. We have identified our areas that one did not go well. That is be able to improvement. And for you to improve, you must have agreed, yes, this was wrong, and I would like to improve it in the future. But when we have violence on the ground, or results has already been announced, as a commissioner or IEBC at that moment, in respect to that result, you may not say much or do much in respect to the result, the outcome you already announced.
So if the outcome does not please, the citizens, they have to bear with it?
Not in that aspect, Reverend. You see, when we go for elections, the results will always be a loss to someone and a win to another. And mostly the loss is where it is more the person feels aggrieved. And it has many times led to post-election violence. Yes, as much as the commission has done its best, that was the result.
So do you consider those to be, the elections to be credible? If that the result is a disputed...
contestation of election result does not necessarily make an injury to the credibility of the result, because when people complain, it is an expression of how they feel about the outcome. It is the IEBC's, or rather the commission's it's the aspiration or the dream of IEBC is to ensure that once we announce an outcome, everybody is happy and comfortable. But on reality, and because we are dealing when we are humans, very rare would you just people sit with the loss. But it's my prayer that we never go back, or rather, ever opportunities to express it in violence. You can express it in talk, or express in terms of what you're saying, but we shouldn't go into violence.
Lastly, what would force you to resign as a commissioner?
If for any reason during my work sorry, I'm looking at resigned, right?
Yes.
Okay, one is I'm one person that would like to work the long haul to ensure that I hold the house towards the end. However, should I have a situation where an illegality is being meted in front of my face and I'm not in a position to resolve it, I'll communicate the illegality, but I would not want to participate. So I would better off than not be part of an illegality.
Communicate to who? Kindly, Balozi?
For example, let's say we are working and I can see this potential to commit something that is not lawful. There are agencies in which we can be able to communicate to.
Thank you, Balozi. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Reverend Father. Balozi,
yes.
Allow me to ask you a general knowledge question, although it's quite relevant to the work you'll do if you join IEBC as a commissioner. You will be involved in managing free and fair elections with regard to Parliament, particularly the ensuring that members of Parliament are elected in the National Assembly. So what is the composition of the National Assembly?
The National Assembly has 349 members.
Made up as?
What did you say?
How are they made up? What is the breakdown of those?
Okay, sure. Thanks, Chair. We have 290 elected members of Parliament. Mm-hmm. Then we have 47 women representatives. Mm-hmm. Then we have 12 nominated MPs.
Well done.
Thank you.
So with that, we've come to the end of your oral interview. Ambassador, I will invite you to make any remarks you may have to the panel.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to say a big thank you. Thank you so much, IEBC Panel 2021, for the warm reception that I have received and my colleagues right from the day of psychometric test, case study in the afternoon and today. I want to say thank you for this morning. You have given me a good opportunity to have a conversation with yourselves. It has been quite enriching and very homely. Thank you so very much. I'll also want to say that should I get the chance to be IEBC Commissioner, I will make you proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. On behalf of the panel and of the people of Kenya, we also want to extend our appreciation to you for applying to serve as a member of IEBC. We don't take that for granted, and we wish you all the best. So with that, I wish you a good weekend. I'll ask a member of the Secretariat to escort you out. Please ensure you carry your documents with you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are now going to take a break until 2 o'clock when we'll interview our next candidate.